Tonight on MMA Connected.
Beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. This is UFC 115.
With the first show a resounding success, has Vancouver taken a step backwards in holding another UFC event? Meanwhile, the matchmakers have been busy as a number of big-name fights are finally announced. Find out who's set to square off. It was years in the making. Aoki and Kawajiri finally settled their score.
Aoki, relax and look at the lead ring. That's good, not
As Dream 15 in Japan provides some exciting MMA action.
Melvin's gonna tap. He looks like a fish out of water, gasping for air.
Plus, from Brazil to BC, you won't want to miss the amazing story of Dream Featherweight champion Bibiano Fernandez.
Shane Carwin trying to finish.
And with Shane Carwin nearly upsetting Lesnar, we examine how Brock was able to bounce back. MMA Connected is now.
Vancouver's a beautiful city. I think everybody's treated us very well. I think that the whole, city council and all that stuff has really been overplayed. Was it tough to get? Yeah, but believe me, we haven't had an easy road anywhere. Some places are going to be tougher than others. And I said, once we roll out of here, I think that the city of Vancouver is going to be comfortable with what happened here, and I guarantee every business owner in Vancouver is going to be happy we came. Oh yeah, we'll definitely come back. We're coming back, no doubt about it.
If you haven't heard, there may be a stumbling block for any planned UFC return to Vance City. Welcome to MMA Connected, Canada's #1 MMA. The city of Vancouver has released Athletic Commissioner Mirko Mladenovic, a huge proponent of combat sports, and replaced him with Dave Rudberg, described as a lifelong bureaucrat who apparently isn't a fan of mixed martial arts. That's just one of the many headlines from the wide world of MMA.
Inside the Octagon.
It's official. MMA Connected confirmed with Dana White that Brock Lesnar will defend his heavyweight title against Cain Velasquez at UFC 121 Saturday, October 23rd at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California. Be sure to tune in to next week's episode of MMA Connected, as we'll have an exclusive sit-down with Velasquez.
I know the hard work that I put in the gym. I know my tools. I have to go out there and emulate my game plan. I have to go out there and pretty much fight a perfect fight, to beat somebody like him.
Meanwhile, also rumored to be competing alongside Brock and Cain is Canadian Sam, Hands of Stone Stout, as he is expected to take on British slugger Paul Relentless Taylor. Speaking of England, UFC 120 is tentatively scheduled for Saturday, October 16th at the O2 Arena, with potential bouts including Michael Bisping versus Yoshihiro Akiyama, Dan Hardy versus Carlos Condit, John Hathaway versus Dun Young Kim, as well as Chet Kongo versus Travis Brown. Moving stateside, UFC 119 will hit the Conseco Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, Saturday, September 25th, and features a heavyweight rematch between Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira and Frank Mir, while the Brazilian's twin brother, Rogério Nogueira, is set to take on Ryan Bader in the co-main event. Other rumored fights include Matt Serra versus Chris Lytle, Evan Dunham versus Sean Shirk, Melvin Gillard versus Jeremy Stevens, Joey Beltran versus Matt Mitrione, as well as CB Dollaway taking on Canadian Joe El Dirte Dirksen. It appears UFC light heavyweight champion Maurizio Shogun Hua's recovery from knee surgery is moving along quite well, and his original return date of March may be bumped up sooner, perhaps to the UFC's event in late January or early February 2011. #1 contender Sugar Rashad Evans has once again stated that he is more than willing to wait for his title shot, no matter when the actual date may be. It's been over 2.5 years in the making, but it appears legendary referee Big John McCarthy will be returning to the Octagon Sunday, August 1st at UFC Live 2. While it's great news for the sport of MMA, Big John did tell me that this does not guarantee he'll be working future shows for the UFC. Note to Big John, we're all crossing our fingers that this is the first of many more to come. Bad news for Uriah Faber fans, as the California Kid has been forced to withdraw from his WEC 50 bout versus Japanese bantamweight Takeya Mizugaki after suffering a knee injury during training. Faber will not require surgery and is hoping to return in September. No replacement has been named as of yet, and no news from the WEC has been released as to whether or not Mizugaki will be removed from the card. In Strikeforce news, with Fedor Emelianenko having only one fight left on his contract, the organization is offering him a title fight versus champion Alistair Overeem, providing the last emperor signs the champions clause in a new contract, which, should he defeat the Reem, will keep him locked in for at least 3 more fights. Fedor wants a rematch with Fabrizio Verdum, but should he avenge the loss to the Brazilian, his stock would once again rise and he would be a free agent who may entertain a move to the Ultimate Fighting Championship, making Strikeforce lose their #1 ratings draw and making life extremely difficult for an organization that must provide results for their current cable television network deal. The organization also announced Strikeforce Houston Saturday, August 21st at the Toyota Center, which will feature light heavyweight champion King Mo Lawal's first title defense as he takes on Anderson Silva training partner Rafael Feijão, as well as a championship bout for the vacant middleweight title as BJJ submission specialist Ronaldo Jacare Souza takes on American Tim Kennedy. Bobby Lashley is also expected to be competing on the card versus a yet-to-be-announced opponent, with rumors circulating that there is a proposed bout between he and another former WWE wrestler, David Batista, who recently spent time training with the Cesar Gracie camp, rolling around with the likes of Nick and Nate Diaz, Jake Shields, and Gilbert Melendez. After a bitter split from the Maximum Fighting Championship in 2009, one of Canada's best welterweights, Ryan Ford, will be returning to the organization that gave birth to his MMA career, as the MFC announced the real deal is back and looking forward to facing top-notch talent inside the ring of Canada's most successful MMA promotion. And here's a look at the results from Aggression MMA 4 that took place at Edmonton, where Alberta's own Tim, the Thrashing Machine Haig, was victorious in his first fight since being cut from the UFC, defeating Ultimate Fighter Season 10 veteran Zach Jensen with a come-from-behind knockout victory. And that's just a small sample of some of the news that made headlines this past week. If you want more, visit sportsnet.ca/MMA and be sure to check out the latest features, including MMA stats, fighter bios, and upcoming events.
Inside the Octagon, brought to you by Sapporo, legendary Biru.
It was over 2 years in the making, and many MMA diehards like myself couldn't wait to see Japanese lightweights Shinya Aoki and Tatsuya Kawajiri settle their score in the ring. The bout finally took place, but unlike what many analysts had predicted, the final result was completely different than what was expected.
Ultimate Recap.
The main event pitted Dream lightweight champion Shinya Aoki versus the man many in the MMA industry believed would take his title, the Crusher Tatsuya Kawajiri. The goal was to stay away from the champion's ground game, but it wasn't meant to be on this night, as Aoki quickly brought the challenger down to the ground and immediately started working for a submission. The pain on Kawajiri's face was evident, and while he tried to heel kick Aoki to the face and spin out of position, he easily fell prey to one of the sport's master submission specialists, submitting to an ankle lock just 1 minute and 53 seconds into the fight.
A grimace from Kawajiri. Aoki relax and look at the lever. That's good night, That's good night, Aoki did it as Aoki does. Another thrilling submission.
After the bout, Aoki announced that he would be proposing to his longtime girlfriend while stating he'll be rematching Strikeforce lightweight champion Gilbert Melendez at Dream 16 in September, a bout that is yet to be confirmed by El Nino or the Strikeforce organization. In the co-main event, Jay-Z Calvan returned to action after a near 14-month layoff and was hoping to stop his 2-fight losing streak as he took on Japanese fan favorite Katsunori Kikuno. It was a back-and-forth affair in the first round that could have gone to either fighter, but in the second frame, Jay-Z quickly took Kikuno down, eventually securing his back and riding the whole round, earning a controversial split decision, one that should have been unanimous. Gegard Mousasi returned to Dream after losing his Strikeforce light heavyweight title to King Mo Lawal in April and made quick work of opponent Jake O'Brien, a UFC veteran looking to get back to the big show. O'Brien would shoot in for the takedown, but Mousasi would defend it with ease, and looking as bored as ever, locked in a guillotine choke, finishing off the American in just 31 seconds.